All right, welcome to the Lucas podcast again, right? So we are going to be speaking about stress management for students today. Now, before we actually go further, right, let me introduce our members of our panel today. We have Vignesh, we have Jade, we have Dave and Francine today for a topic on this stress management for students. So before we actually go even further, I think it's the right time for us to actually introduce our panelists for today, right? So let's start with Vignesh.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Vignesh. You can call me Vic. I did my A-levels in the 2008-2009 intake. So I graduated in 2009. Yeah, and right after that, I did my chemical engineering undergraduate and then followed by my PhD in chemical engineering as well. So now I'm actually an assistant professor at an international university. I teach chemical engineering and I also do my research in one component of chemical engineering, which is process and supply chain optimization. Yeah, so that's me.
All right. All right. Thanks, Vignesh. Jade?
Okay, hi everyone, Jade here. I completed my A-levels in 2015 and just a bit, in 2015. So I did my undergraduate studies in the US, completed a double degree in economics as well as industrial engineering and operations research. Now I'm back in Malaysia working as a strategy analyst in Accenture.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jade. Dave?
Okay, so I studied my A-levels in 2009 to 2010. And then subsequently, I did my bachelor's of pharmacy for 4 years. And then I started to work for my housemanship in 2015 at the Klang Hospital. And then did my comfort in 2016 onwards till now at the Sarawak General Hospital in Kuching.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Francine?
Hi everyone, my name is Francine and I completed my A-levels in 2016 and after that I furthered in degree of accounting and finance in the UK followed by a year of placement in Rolls-Royce and now I am back home in Malaysia helping my parents with the family business. Yeah.
Thank you, Francine. Right. Before we continue, thank you very much for spending your time here for the channel. Right. Thank you for being here as well. It has been some time since I last met you guys. Right. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to catch up later. Right. Thank you again for being a part of the channel. Right. Thanks for coming back. Right. So yes, we are talking about a particular issue here that we have in hand now: stress management. Right, stress management for students. Now, we are not professionals here, but we have all been through that particular stage, right? Being a student is, of course, not easy, right? Of course, coming into a new program especially gives us a little bit of an anxiety, but all of us actually managed to actually get through that, right? And that's basically what you need to actually adapt and move on as well whenever you are actually in a new program. So there are a lot of reasons that could actually contribute to stress, like what I mentioned just now. Coming into a new course or coming into even a new subject or taking a new elective could actually bring stress to one particular student because maybe you do not know entirely, you do not understand entirely that particular course or the subject. That could be one of the reasons why that leads to stress among students. Now, the other reasons that actually cause stress among students are actually the time management factor, right? Because a lot of students are not able to actually manage time well to accomplish what a student needs to accomplish in that particular time frame that the students need to be performing academically. So I guess let's just get the ball rolling here. I know Jade actually, when she joined, she took up a new subject, right? Which is actually further maths, right? How was further maths back then? You know, when you first joined, and then how was the experience, you know, taking a further maths subject? Because I remember you came in, and what happened was that you actually took physics, chemistry, bio, and maths, and then after that, you changed one of the subjects to further maths. So how was further maths back then?
Yeah, so that happened when like a scholarship came along, right? And I saw it as a point to restart my my college as my A-levels because at that point in time, I had the intention of doing engineering for my undergraduate studies. So when that scholarship came along and the restarting point came about and became available to me, I thought, okay, I should totally do it because I've heard really good things about further math, right? Especially for people who want to do engineering, who want to do engineering degree. So how it was for me, I'm going to admit it, no lies, it was challenging. I think what really helped was having a group of classmates who were really supportive, having lecturers having lecturers who actually constantly drilled us, right? Taught us the concept first, and after that really drilled us really hard, doing all the past year questions, going through, discussing, challenging us in how to approach these problems. I think from a personal experience, it helped in providing me the foundation when I went to uni for my math courses. Because actually, when I first went to the uni, my first 2 math courses, there was major overlap with what I learned during A levels, especially in further math. And it helped with the transition, because being a first year student, going there, I'm kind of 1,000 miles away, but it's basically flying across the Pacific Ocean, being there alone on your own, having to adapt to a different lifestyle. You really don't have much time to still be able to like put 100% into studying. So having that bit of like, advantage that I had from the subjects that I took in A levels actually really helped with the transition and in getting used to a uni lifestyle. So actually for students, I think if you know that you're going into a math heavy degree, it could be math, right? Or could be engineering, something more technical in that sense, it will be an added advantage for you. But even if you choose not to take, you will still be fine. It's just that if you feel that you have the additional capacity to take it during your A levels time, it will do you good. Yeah.
Definitely give you added advantage, right? When you're actually doing your degree there, right? So do you agree with it, Vignesh?
Yeah.
Now you're actually teaching that particular course, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not only just teaching, but actually went through it as well together.
Yeah, exactly.
A similar experience with Jade. I would say that, yes, it has an added advantage. I think comparing to students that do not take it, when they go into their first year, the step difference they have to make up for when they come to their undergraduate, it is high. It is a big step difference. So having further maths under their belt will actually push them a step closer to understanding things quickly when they go into engineering courses in their undergraduate, particularly the first year. The first year is engineering math, or different versions of it. They may label it something else depending on the institute that you're in or the program that you're in. But yeah, it has that high level mathematics requirement. But if you've already done further maths in your A levels, the transition will be relatively smoother compared to those who don't take it. Yeah. So I do agree in that sense, yes.
Yes, remember back in the days, you used to come back to visit Mr. Peter.
Yeah, exactly,
get some assistance on further maths, right? So
yeah,
that was
exactly.
like such a long time ago, right? But yeah, so that was relevant to the course that you're actually doing back then, right? So I mean, definitely give you an added advantage. It will definitely it will set you better in motion when you're actually doing those, like Jade mentioned just now, those maths heavy courses like actuarial science as well as engineering related courses. Right. So that was all of us have actually taken different kind of subjects in uni as well, right? For me, for example, I have actually taken things which is totally not related to science at all. Like, for example, I've actually taken a principle of marketing. I've actually taken the French language as well back then in uni. But I think, it's a breath of fresh air, I would say, because what happened is that it gives us a different perspective, like what Jade mentioned just now. No, we're so used to just doing science. I was a science student, right? Since like God knows how long, since Form 4, right? And then all the subjects I've been taking is all science. So now all of a sudden, in uni, I had to actually take an elective. I actually chose principle of marketing as one of the courses. Basically, just to see what the other, what they call this field has to actually offer. And I did not regret taking it because it actually gives me a different perspective in life, right? So that's something that I think there's always a challenge taking a new subject, but I think we just have to take it positively, right? Because you never know what kind of advantage you are actually going to get from it in the future, right? So that's what I feel, right? Students should actually feel that way. Take it up as a challenge, take it positively. Things are going to be difficult at the beginning, but of course, over time, right, with the right support, you should be able to get there. You should be able to get there. All right, so that was taking a new subject. So is there any other kind of stress that students actually faces right now? Discipline, right? Students were having discipline issues as well, whenever they're actually, doing a particular course. So how does this actually affect students?
I think nowadays when because of the pandemic, everything has moved online. So the students, they are forced to actually learn virtually rather than being in the class. And one of the challenges I would say for having class online is that you lack of the interaction with your friends as well as with the teachers in your class as well. And it gives you slightly like a leeway to actually be tempted by distractions. For example, in a class, on a Zoom class, it's so easy to just look at the phone or like have two tabs on the screen at the same time. And it kind of like just like take away your focus from what you are supposed to focus on. So it is really important to stay disciplined as part of the stress management, I think.
Yeah, true. Because there are so many distractions in life right now,
Right.
isn't it correct? So it can easily steer you away from what you're actually supposed to be doing. So I think yes, having good disciplines definitely is something that our young adults needs to actually learn very well, very fast. Right? They need to actually set priorities. Right? Am I right to say that? Right? I mean, everyone has a set priorities, right? What we have to actually do what we're supposed to be actually doing at that point in time, right? So time management is going to be very important because if you fail to plan, you are actually going to have a lot of difficulties ahead of you, right? That's what I feel currently, right? So yeah. So anyone will add on time management here?
Well,
I think time management wise, I think, yeah, definitely they would have difficulty. Plus, the environment they're going to be having it is usually a bit at home. So they might be with their family. So there might be a lot of distraction where they will come up and pop up suddenly. And then maybe the conducive environment is not really there, depending on where they're staying. Time management, of course, they will have to work on a timetable. I think they have to plan blocks of time, maybe an hour, or do a reward system after doing like an hour of study, then have a reward, watch Netflix for a while, maybe, I don't know, Facebook, and then continue on again. I think they need to make it as a habit and a routine for them. Yeah.
Dave was from Express Intake back then when he
Yeah.
actually did his A levels. So Dave managed to accomplish a lot, right? back in
It
the
was
days, when you were actually doing the Express course, and then stress is definitely going to be that high,
yeah.
So you still managed to actually get your things done. I think this is actually down to the attributes of you on how you plan your time well during the time. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, breaking things that you need to do into blocks of time is actually going to be very, very important. But how do we actually do that? How do we break things into blocks of time over here?
I think,
Well-
let me, sorry. Yeah.
go ahead, Jade. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll take it
piggyback
over
on what
after that.
you've just mentioned, right? Breaking things to time, I think it's also important to mention, right? It can be as simple as really doing it as like you break it into 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whichever works for you, work for your attention span. Because some people, they are able to shut everything off and really focus on their past year questions for 30 minutes. For some, it's a huge chore, like 10 minutes itself is like a huge achievement. So it's really important to know what works for you and just practice it based on that. But another thing I want to mention about breaking things, blocking your, like basically breaking your time into chunks, it's that while we mentioned, time management as a student, it's important to study, but I just want to highlight the fact that it's also important that you give break to yourself, that you also can dedicate the same amount of time for you to walk around the house or get out of your house, get out of your seat, walk through the kitchen or whatnot. Or yeah, because I think as students, it's very easy to forget that we actually need break for ourselves, especially if you constantly have your parents telling you, hey, I'm paying for your A-levels. You need to, are you even,
You need to love
why are you
yourself.
on
You
your
need to
phone?
love yourself.
Yes, yeah, but it's really important to, it's very important to give break to yourself, even though parents rarely see how hard we study, especially when I was a student, I totally understand that part. So I think it's, just a reminder for yourself, right? While studying, also remember to give break to yourself because we all need that balance sometime. Yeah.
That's for sure, because we're not robots, we're not computers over here, right? So definitely we deserve the break that we need to deserve. You feel that you need to just go off, just take a break, just go ahead, right? But you need to really set times in there, right? when you have actually decided to walk away for a while, just go have a walk, or just just go out, have a walk in the park. Can we still walk in the park now? I think can, right? You can walk in the park now, isn't it?
I think they
So
can do
this
some yoga exercise for 10 minutes to 20 minutes and then continue on, or maybe drink some green tea. You never know.
whatever that's refreshing to you, whatever that suits you, right? But
Or
always
speak
remember
to
to come back
someone
to
on
it.
the phone, speak to somebody, have a chat, talk about something, completely different, have a conversation, yeah. So
It'd be
yeah, that
sometimes
might
just as
work.
simple as that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
at this current situation, at this pandemic, I think we are hardly meeting anybody.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean, it's a real challenge for young adults, especially students over here. They do not have the emotional support from peers. So that's one of the things that it can be just as simple as just speaking to somebody over WhatsApp or over whatever social media that you wish to actually use, right? So that's actually very important, very, very important to manage that, right? So yeah, Vinesh, do you have anything to actually add there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think Dave and Jade hit the nail on the head, lah. But I think I'll add on something additional to that. Planning is one thing, organizing and putting into blocks of time is one thing, but you're never going to get it right the first time. I think this is an important point to make, and I know for a fact, even I myself, back when I was much younger, when I don't get things done, I get very frustrated, and I feel like, I'm not efficient, or am I becoming lazier, all these negative thoughts come to the mind, But what I would say to the students, who are listening in, and it's a learning process on its own. In fact, even all of us, I think all of us can say, right? We all can agree that we are still learning, right? Our
Yes.
organizational skills, our planning skills, our time management. It's an iterative process. An engineer talking, iterative process.
I hear you.
So, but anyways, yeah. I mean, it's a learning process in a sense that after a while you get a feel on how much time you actually need to do something, and when new tasks come in, it's going to be a learning process. You think you need just 30 minutes, but then you ended up needing 1 hour. But then the next time, okay, I do need 1 hour, I really need to spend 1 hour on this, so I'll manage my time accordingly. But at the same time, if you don't manage to do something, it's fine. We can't be hard on ourselves. We just have to take it as, okay, I did something today, never mind, I'll tackle this another time. The point here is, don't be too hard on yourselves, and it's an iterative process.
Yeah.
Mm.
I agree. Like everyone has a different capacity, and just because your work to rest ratio might be smaller, it doesn't mean that you're in any way less capable, because there are some people who need more days of work and less day of rest, and some people need the otherwise. So the journey of stress management is really all about finding your personal strategy. And I think last time when I was an A-level student, like what I did was I have the 5+2 rule. I have a 5 days of work and 2 days of rest. So it really helped me to segregate my work day, to have all my work confined within a period of time, and actually motivate me to get the work done during that period as well. And similar to the 9 to 5 rules, when you start working in a real world, in a real world, the 9 to 5, I feel like it exists there for a reason, because no one likes to bring work back home to do during a weekend. And when you achieve your work goals, you not only feel good about yourself, but you actually give yourself the freedom to enjoy your rest day, guilt and worry free. And I think the 5+2 is a really good way. Like this is not an absolute rule, but it really works for me, because during the 5 days, if there's anything that I didn't manage to complete, at least I can afford to take 1 day off from the 2 days of rest and just complete it. And like I said, like everyone has different capacity. Like if you look at your friends and they manage to actually manage stress at a higher level, it doesn't mean that you are not as smart as them, or like you are less capable, because every bowl comes in different shapes, and every bowl with different shapes, they have their own purpose as well. So don't be discouraged if a plan fails at first, because something which puts students off planning is when they don't achieve what they set out to do. They might actually feel like, what's the point of doing it, because I'm going to fail. And this brings me back to the previous point, where it is really a learning curve, and it is a continuous learning journey for everyone, even for myself now as well. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think I need to learn from Francine, right? I think what 9 to 5 thing, and also the what 5+2 is something that I need to practice more, because you will notice that I will actually use the weekend to actually mark papers and also prepare slides and edit questions and so on. So I'm a bad person.
The question is, do you still vomit blood now?
Oh, yeah.
time to time, Dave. You know what I mean. Time to time. Yeah.
But
So
Mr.
you know.
Lucas, I
Yeah.
would argue it very much like what Francis said, it very much
Hmm.
depends on the nature of that person and the way they do work, but it also depends on profession and which line of work you're working in, or in the case of the students, it
Mhm.
depends on the course that they take. Maybe for
Mm,
some, like I'll
mm,
give a simple example. Maybe certain courses I can receive it very easily,
mhm.
so I can process it quicker, and it's more suitable to do it on a weekday. I mean, just throwing it out there. But maybe some courses, right, I would probably need a weekend where I don't have classes, to rush for. I just need that peace and quiet in my room on a weekend. Then I could just, with that peace and quiet, I can just absorb the information of that particular subject. And also, it very much depends on subject relevance as well. Maybe to some subject you might receive it better, so it's easier for you to digest it during the weekdays per se. But some, maybe you need that additional time without worrying about rushing to class. Yeah, which class do I need to go now? Or which link do I have to click in this case? To go to the next class. So that tension is relieved because okay, Saturday morning is like my biology time, so that that's the time where you sit down and do that. So I guess it very much depends, as long as most important thing is we need to know who we are, what works for us. I think that's a very crucial part. If we know what works for us, and we cannot be delusional, we cannot be in denial. We can't keep trying the same things when it doesn't work. I think
Good
that's a very
advice.
crucial part. Yeah, I think
Good
this is a
advice.
very crucial part for the students, because I see in myself, because I'm also in the profession of seeing how students study as well. So
Mm,
for me, the way I look at it, sometimes we have some students who just repeat the same methods over and over again, hoping to get a different result. So when things do not work for you, it's time to change things a little bit. You know, it's time to question the way we go about things. Hey, is this working? Yeah, do we have to do I you don't have to drastically change everything 360 degrees. Just change one or two minor things, and then see whether it works, you see. Yeah, so I think that's a point as well, what connecting to what Francine said lah.
Sounds like an
I
engineer
think
speaking.
one thing, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I think I agree with you. I definitely agree with you, because a lot of students are so used to the way how they studied in the past, right? But I mean, in the past, they can score very good grades in whatever course that they're actually doing. Some SPM, and also they scored very well. O levels, they scored very well. They're basically using one particular strategy they were so comfortable at using, right? Most of them will be continuing on that particular strategy in A levels. Sometimes it doesn't work. We all know that whatever that we do sometimes doesn't work. When it doesn't work, you need to start to realize it and need to actually find out what is the root cause of the method that you're actually currently using now. So I think it's very important. There's no one rule that fits all. Am I right? There's no one rule that actually fits all. You need to actually find the one that suits you the best. If you find that you're struggling right now, it could be that the study method is actually not correct. The strategy is actually all wrong altogether. So you need to assess yourself again. Ask yourself that question. Like what Vignesh actually threw to us just now, right? Ask yourself again. So what went wrong? You need to really sit down and assess yourself again to know where you stand right now, and re-strategize to move ahead with the course that you're actually doing now.
Yeah, but I guess the five of us here, we agree on one thing. I think there's a common theme here, and that is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail lah. You know. So I think students
Definitely.
these days, we cannot go by without doing any form of planning. Whether is it virtual learning or whether you do it face to face, I think planning is already going to be a prerequisite. Starting at this point until even till I don't know, maybe even if you stop working, you'll still be planning a lot of things. So planning is going to be an essential part, whether is it your studies or whether it's your personal life and whatever. It's going to be an essential part of your growth as well.
I remember Vignesh
And I
used to bring
think
a
one,
sorry.
I was
Sorry,
gonna say
Francine.
that And I think one small tip that can be really helpful for the students out there to identify whether or not they're actually on the right plan is that if the plan that you are currently having is stressing you out, it is not a good plan. Because a plan is supposed to help you to get to the destination rather than holding you back and making you doubt yourself. So with the plan that you are having now, it's really making you feel like more worried. And then why are you not achieving your goal? Maybe it is time to actually open up to more options and then take up other plans. Yeah.
One note to add on planning, right? I think we really spoke extensively about it, and it makes sense. And I honestly wish someone had told me about it when I was studying for A levels or even for my SPM previously. Is that actually a plan can be as simple, like when you set your objective, it can be as simple as doing 20 questions in 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be complete 2 past year's papers in 2 hours. It doesn't have to be that much. It can really be as simple as, complete these questions within this time frame, and when you're done with it, you check it out, and that's what you have managed to achieve for the day. So again, highlighting the fact that, setting something that's attainable, achievable for yourself in that pace, because again, it's very important to know how you work and set goals that can work for yourself. And another thing, really, I think especially very important for students, I personally found it worked very well for me, is having people to study with. And I can't imagine how hard it is now, right? In the midst of pandemic, everyone's having classes online. You might not have even met your classmates before in person, but you might have seen them online.
Yes.
At least saw them through video or some sort. But like having friends, having peers you can discuss the same topic with, it really helps. So next time when you're having your classes, I think Vic and Lucas, Mr. Lucas, you know the trouble about like students not contributing in classes, not contributing in lectures as much. Yes, students, if you're listening, a shout out for you all to participate, because it really helps. If you're able to explain a concept to someone else, you can only do it because you already understand it. So if you can't, it really means that you haven't understand it well enough. And by trying to explain it to someone else, it's like an assessment of whether you already have a grasp of the subject.
Yeah, you need to try, because a lot of students now, they don't feel confident at all. They're not trying to express whatever they understood to another friend. So one of the recent cases that there was one particular, I was actually talking about one of the chapters, we're talking about lattice structures, right? One of my students actually asked another student in my class, her concept is correct or wrong? That particular student turned up to ask me before answering a friend. So it was actually a confident issue, but I'm glad that she actually came forward to actually clarify things with me. So it shows to me that she's actually trying. She's actually trying to actually see whether her concept is right or not. And then she's actually now, from her understanding, trying to help another friend of hers to understand the concept better. I think it's very enlightening to actually see this kind of behavior among my students. Actually, kind of nice to see, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess like for this, I think it's important to note that students need to understand a small portion of your learning experience at university is with your peers. And that fact that because things are done virtually right now, that element is sort of taken out. Yeah, you go to class, you meet your lecturer or you meet your instructor. That is one format of learning. The second format is obviously you're using the material, or you're looking at resources online and all that to do learning as well. But the third portion is actually with your peers. And knowing for the fact that right now it's a bit challenging, particularly for new students coming in. They have that stress of like, oh, I don't know who my classmates are. I feel a bit embarrassed to ask or speak to them. I guess this is going to be an issue, because of the fact that small portion of just asking questions and clarifying things, it actually brings you a long way. And it is important to get involved, get involved in a sense that, just don't think too much. Don't be too hard on yourself. I think we are kind of like recirculating around that point again. Don't be too hard on yourself. You just have to put yourself out there. If you don't get the answer, move on to the next person, and at the same time as well, it's good to make new friends, even though it's on a virtual environment, instead of sticking to yourself, because you're going to be alone in front of your laptop for a long portions of the day, you see. So in that sense, it's very important to just reach out to people, and that way you can make new friends, whether it's in your class or whether it's outside of your class. And it carries you a long way. You may think that, oh, I'm not really going to ask my fellow classmates anything. But the fact that you have friends, brings you a long way, And then for a fact that if you miss something out, you can always check with them as well. Hey, is there a deadline now? Is there something that I missed? Oh, no, you're good, you're good, So you always can get that, verification from your peers in that sense. Yeah.
I actually came across this saying not too long ago, and I feel like it is not only applicable for students, but also for all of us here. It's like very, very often we don't regret things we did, but we regret about things that we didn't do. Correct? Right? And I believe that all of us here, we actually agree, because looking back, I feel that I regretted for not taking a lot of first steps to actually know a lot more friends back in my college. And I feel that to all the students who are listening now, maybe you feel that it's slightly late to actually get to know your friends, given that you might have already been in the course for a few months and then you haven't even said hi to any one of them. But you are not the only one that's feeling this way. I'm pretty sure all of your other classmates, they also can't wait to actually see you in person. So be that person to take the first step first and just say hi. And you are only going to be in college once. So don't miss out the life that you potentially could have in college, although it's virtually, but you are still going to have a good time with your friends, given that you are courageous enough to actually take the first step. Yeah.
Very important to take the first step, because I had students before, after completing 1.5 years, that one student only knew like 3 names in the class. The boy only had like the 3 names that he actually knows how to, because he only goes around with the 3%, and then the other classmates basically just doesn't know how to address them. So yeah, very important to take the first step, I would say. Francine, a good point over there. Yeah.
It can just be something really simple. Just ask one of the person that you like, you randomly see the name on the screen, and then go and text them after the class. Say, oh, I have this question during the class just now. Do you know like what's the answer to it? And then that can be a very good first step and a very simple first step to actually get to know each other as well.
Yeah, and I think now, right, most lecturers or professors, they really, organize icebreaker events or small groups to encourage people to get together and encourage communications in small groups. So please participate in those, it helps. Yeah, I think really as a student, especially during A levels and college time, I had a lot of fun and had pretty positive experience because of the people around it. So I think a shout out to students, even though everything's virtual now, don't let COVID take that fun experience away from you. Because my younger sister is also in the she started her first year of uni in the midst of COVID. So everything's virtual as well. But I see her having quite a lot of fun because, really just messaging people, having a small support group, could be random calls, right? Set up a call and discuss the same math problem together, how to solve this, how to approach this problem. And it helps with the thinking. And yeah, actually, even personally at my work now, if I think alone, it's a lot slower than having people to bounce the ideas with, thinking, that thought process with. Yep. And this same concept, it will bring you a long way. It's not just about studying. Even in the future, when you start working, it will still come in handy. Yeah, the practice of just reaching out to people. Yeah, I know it might be quite normal to feel inferior sometimes, right? What if my question is a stupid question? I don't want people to think that I'm asking something silly. Oh, you don't know that, man. A lot of people have that same question too. So don't be shy to take that first step.
And I think it's important to not make any mistake. I mean, to not be shy to make mistakes, to not be embarrassed to make mistakes. I mean, so what? I mean, at the end of the day, so what? You're gonna learn at the end of the day. I think the pros outweigh the cons. I mean, people. People tend to measure like, okay, my learning experience to be something smaller than the embarrassment. To me, it's like I've asked silly questions in my life as well. And I still do. Nowadays, I do it on purpose. So it's a different story altogether. Back when I was a student, I was a little bit, shy and embarrassed to ask such questions, but after trying a few times, I figured out, hey, actually I got the answer, yeah, okay, maybe 1 or 2 people may have judged me, I don't know, but honestly, I don't know, I don't know whether I can't think on their behalf, but at least I know for a fact that I was a little bit thick-skinned and I asked silly questions, but I knew I got the answer to what I wanted, and that helped me a lot. So the pros definitely outweigh the cons in this case. Sorry, Dave, I think I interrupted you.
No, 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 it's okay. Okay, it's okay. I think you just have to make the first move, and you definitely, I mean, yeah, you have to have a lot of thick face, I guess. But I mean, I think having the first step of text or email to your lecturers or anything, which can help out a lot, or even your peers. I think at times like this, yeah, you have to make extreme efforts. Right? It's going to be tough for the next 1 or 2 years, and probably in the coming years as well. I think you bring forward to your probably in your working years as well. I think a lot of people have mentioned it. So I think people need to get used to it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Get used to it and
And
make a best out of it.
yeah, and a lot of times, like the question that you ask, right, is actually not only going to benefit yourself, because I'm pretty sure some other people in your class, they also have the same question, but they
Yeah.
just don't dare to raise the question. And by you asking that, you actually help a lot of other people as well. Because when I was back in my A levels, I think there are some time where I was actually quite shy to ask a question, because I was like, if I ask that question, does it mean I'm dumb? Like, would I look dumb by asking that question? And then someone else asked it, and I was super grateful to them because they asked it, I learned as well. Yeah.
You see, what happens is that I'm basically waiting for questions every single lesson. So if there were no questions from students, right, I will be the one who will be, trying to hint at, okay, you may want to ask this particular slide at this particular point, what happened over there, and why is it that color and so on. I have to actually trigger that particular question so that they actually come forward and ask the question. And I think all of you have actually seen me doing that, especially when the class is like, oh, suddenly it gets a bit too quiet. So that will start to actually trigger, the questions for my students. But I hope that, of course, if you can, right, go ahead and just ask the question, because the students nowadays are just afraid of the perception that they actually get. Don't be afraid. Just come on, go ahead. The questions that you ask is basically the same questions that everyone else wanted to know, right? So
and now that everything is virtual, no one's gonna see your face, so you don't have to be shy. Just ask.
Oh.
yeah. Yes, yeah.
They can always PM on the side. They can do personal message on the side of the question. So actually nobody knows the question as well if it existed.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
there are various platforms for the students to reach out in that sense, to summarize, I guess. Private messaging, emailing, or even during the class itself, or discussion boards. If some, subjects have a discussion board on their learning portal, or you can post something there. These are just various tools and platforms where they can, put their questions up. And in fact, there are also many other mechanisms where, like, for example, you can ask anonymous questions, or applications like that. So that can actually be used in class as well. And I think for a fact, this is something that, maybe I'm going to try and break a taboo here right now. But I think students think that, lecturers in a way are not negotiable, so I'm going to break this taboo right now and say, no, we are negotiable. We can be negotiated with, in a sense that if you feel like there's some way in which things are not working, or you'd want to suggest something to improve in the class, that you say like, sir or ma'am, can we try this app so that we can ask questions in a more efficient way? Trust me, your lecturers will be happy to pick it up, because for them, they would rather hear from you what works for you, and then imagine that I'm talking from an educator's point of view now, that at some point, we can do what we can from our side based on what we see and what we know, based on the data that we see. But if the students reach out and say, like, why not we try this? Why not we try that? Do you think this is something that we can do? Lecturers are happy to pick it up and try to work it out, and it's going to benefit everyone as well. But the case in point is simple. You just have to reach out, make the first move, as what Dave mentioned, one way or another. You just have to suggest, come up with something, and sooner or later, asking questions will become addictive. It will be. The inquisitive mind is a learning mind, So in that sense, it's very important. It's always important to question things. You don't take things as it is. There was one time I did this in class. It's just a sharing now. Okay, I did this in class before. I said something wrong for fun. And I wanted to see whether my students agreed with me.
Yeah.
Just to see whether they question me. Then I
Right.
said, what? I said something wrong, guys. You all just completely agreed with me. Is it just because I'm in front of the class? Then they all laughed together. Then I said, no, it's not true. You are welcome to question me. You're welcome to question me. So imagine you inherit this habit when you're doing face to face. Now when it's virtual, it's more apparent, you see. So it's important to make that first step. Just question, ask, you can learn a lot from that.
I think bringing back to Jade's point just now, where like the students nowadays, it's actually a lot more challenging for them because they don't get to meet their friends, etc. So I know that right now for especially for A-level students or like all the pre-U students, like you are not only trying to excel in your academic, but it's also about time where you need to think further and also decide which path do you want to pursue your academics in. And I don't know how it works for everyone last time, but I think that time when I applied for unis, I actually had ample of discussion with my friends and it certainly helped. And Dave, so did you discuss your degree choices with your friends back then?
I had a
Dave.
small group
Yeah.
like pre-U preparation. I mean, sorry, for like university application preparation. So like, because I applied to the US, right? There were like SATs, ACTs we had to take. So that support group helped. But in terms of like deciding what course to take, not really. Yeah, but I know people who did, and definitely helps in crafting their personal statement. And I heard and there are also resources that will help in preparing for those.
I guess it depends on the person and whatever course that you are actually applying for. Speaking out to someone actually really helps sometimes. It depends on what do you want to do in the future. Whatever you're trying to say here is that I think can conclude that you need our friends. You need our friends to actually sometimes share the problem. Sometimes you just need a listening ear, right? You just need a listening ear to just just be there and just listen to our issues, and then maybe after just letting someone knows the issue, you will already feel better immediately after that. Correct? I think that's something a little bit enlightening. It could be just as simple as just speak out to somebody.
Mr. Lucas, let me point out an observation here. Right now, all of us are focused on the techniques on how we can reduce stress, to manage stress from the beginning. Like it's kind of like a preventive measure in a way. Plan things better, get your friends, get support from your peers, from your lecturers and so on, and reaching out. This will help elevate, not to say elevate, but more like mitigate or prevent it from occurring to some extent. All right. But what I'd like to throw out here is, what if stress already is happening? It's already happening. That's a different point altogether, right? I mean, like, I think we all can agree. What can we do if, what can the students do if they're already facing that stress? What can we, what are the things they can consider when they're already facing the stress, how they can overcome it, and what they can do next? So I think that's one point I can add on. I think, like, if you're already feeling very stressed, the key point is to you should stop whatever you're doing, because whatever you're doing is actually the trigger. It's important to take a step back. There are a lot of methods in which you can calm yourself down. It takes some time to just relax, because this is kind of like borderlining into another area, but it's still related to stress management, in my point of view, which is like, when you already have that trigger, what do you do next? So breathing exercises do help. Taking your mind off things and distracting yourself with something that you like, that may also help. To me personally, when I get stressed, even back then and even now, the one thing I do, I always do, is I watch stand-up comedy. I just go onto YouTube, I just turn on one of my favorite comedians, and I just watch that, the stand-up show, and I just laugh my head off, and then I'll forget about what I was stressed out about. It can even be just 10 minutes, because there's a lot of clips on YouTube now. So that works for me. But maybe for somebody else, it could be just going over to the piano and playing something, very quickly. I could be just watching their favorite show for a bit. I could be just going out and kicking the football for a bit. Could be something along those lines. But at the end of the day, we must understand, when you have the trigger, you need to do something about it as well. You need to calm yourself down and relax. You know, you need to find methods in which you need to relax. But I know I'm open to what other people are thinking about as well. Maybe the rest can chip in as well.
I think it's more about taking care of your mental health. I guess what he's trying to say. And then mental health, like definitely during the COVID-19 pandemic, you will have the stress, outside external stress. And yeah, you have to make up time to do something else. If yes, maybe studying can be a stress factor as well with the exams coming up and with the challenges right now with studying online. It's understandable. But I think they need to make effort to like find relaxing methods or finding a hobby or maybe going for an exercise, doing something new, gonna coffee, I don't know, maybe there are new trends. I think just step away for a while.
Step away and take a short break, right? Take care of yourself first, right?
Yes.
Before you actually handle whatever issues that at hand, right? That's what I think Dave was trying to say. I think, yeah, he's actually having some connection issue over there, but it's all right, right? So we all need to take a step back, yeah. Just take, just take a few minutes to actually just break. Otherwise, if the problems at hand is actually not breaking you, then you are actually breaking yourself. Right, so that's the thing. You need to actually just step out from now just to actually handle the issue, right? We may have Dave back soon, right? So yeah, all right. So yeah, anything else that our students can actually benefit from? Yeah, from
Stress management.
you
I
know.
think eating right. I think eating right, sleeping enough. Uh, I'm I'm the wrong person to advise on this, but I can tell by the learning experience I had. I slept very little when I was a student, so don't follow my example in that sense. I'm the person who will tell you don't be like me. Please sleep more. Please make sure you have enough sleep, enough rest, because a well rested mind is a good mind to learn, to keep it simple. Yeah, but apart from rest, eat healthy, eat right, eat on time. Now times, the fact that we are on virtual environments right now, we're learning. We are more glued over to our laptops and we're sitting in that one position. Going on to what the rest of my colleagues here have mentioned, exercise and all that, it all ties back into the same point. You know, Healthy lifestyle is also very crucial. Let's not compromise on those kind of things. Sleep well, eat well. Yeah, eat well and eat right.
I completely agree. Very important to take good care of ourselves. Personal well-being, right? Physical as well as mental well-being. Yeah. I mean, even now at work, colleagues are constantly saying, take your break. If you need to, block 2 hours on your schedule so you can take that break, please just do it. Yeah, especially for students. I don't know. I personally felt that uni life was busy because weekends I had to do my homework. I mean, we had like small tests and homeworks that need to be submitted. So I totally understand that stress that students might face. So if you need any additional resources, right, be it like counseling services, be it, having people to talk to or having questions they need to ask, seek clarification, I really can't stress enough. Reach out for help, reach out for all these resources. Because if you just look around, a lot of these resources are available to you, even when everything has gone virtual now. Yeah.
Exactly. The first step to solving a problem is basically to admit there's a problem. The key point here is that if you know you're stressed out, you need help, you need to acknowledge that yourself. I think that's where the students need to. I think I learned that the hard way. I think if someone told me this much earlier, I think I would have handled things a lot better in that sense. But I would say that the first step is to acknowledge that, okay, I'm facing a challenge right here. Should I go and seek out for help? That's the first question to ask. And the second thought to have in mind is, you know, we should not continue to make this a taboo. You know, Mental health, stress, it's a common thing now. It is so common, especially now with the pandemic, right? It has disrupted the way we do a lot of things, and the disruption may bring opportunities, but before we transition to opportunities, that's that pressure cooker period, where we are transitioning over, not just for the students, even for those who are working. So for the students, I think the point I'm making here is that you're not alone in facing stress. Everybody is. And, it's a question of whether do you want to do something about it. If this matters to you, you know for a fact that you need to do something about it. And that brings me to Jade's point as well. You need to reach out. Don't continue this taboo. It's a real taboo to talk about stress in this region of the world, you know. So people are not going to judge you because everybody knows it's a stressful period for everyone. If you have something that is bugging you, please reach out to professionals, whether be it at the university or externally, whichever that fits your preference, whichever you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, you have to be comfortable to take the first step. Then everyone here is obviously going to be very helpful as well. Everyone's going to be, willing to help and assist. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. A lot of wisdom there. Yeah. So yeah, I think we've actually covered a lot today about stress management for students, right? First we talked about we need to actually be positive, right? When we're actually taking a new subject, a new course. And of course, we also need to point out the importance of discipline, right? Because if you don't have a discipline, then you're going to have issues following whatever things that you need to do in one particular day. So you need to actually do good as well in time management, making what they call this time in chunks of time, like what Jade mentioned just now, Dave mentioned just now, right? Having a list of things to do is also going to be important. But of course, don't be too disappointed if, let's say, you don't achieve the things that you need to do in that particular list. Having checklist is good. You can see the ticks, you put little ticks on the things that you achieve. Sometimes be a good therapy to you that you've actually got things done. You slash them all. You feel that you've actually done things over here for the day. But if you don't achieve them, don't be too hard on yourself. There's always room for you to actually work towards it on another day, right? Just have to make sure, have a plan for yourself that works for you. There's no one rule that is suited for every single one. Everyone is unique. Everyone is different. Correct? Setting up goals, very important, right? Some courses, some students work best if you actually have like a 5+2 rule, like what Francine mentioned just now, right? Having prepared, study everything, finish up all your work within the 5 days and have 2 days off completely. So that will actually keep your mind relaxed for the weekend. You can do whatever that you need to do, right? You can actually have time for yourself and then come back again, right, on Monday, all right, to actually do what is actually necessary to be done all the way to Friday, and then you can take a day off. All right, 9 to 5 works as well for working adults like us, right? So that is what we mentioned just now, right? And reaching out for help, very, very important. Don't keep the issues at hand to yourself. Always reach out for help whenever you can, right? It can be just as simple as just speaking to somebody, right? Your friends that you know, or right now you do not know anybody, just WhatsApp, a random person, you will never know, you will definitely have a lot of relief after speaking to that one person, right? Correct. So before we wrap up things, any last minute advice, any last advice for our students who are actually tuning in right now? So yeah, Jade?
Last minute advice. I feel like we've discussed quite extensively.
So any points that you feel that's actually more important, right, for students here?
Mr. Lucas, I will do you one better. Jade, which advice you think you hold dearly to, that you want to make it as a take-home message for the students listening?
Wow. Okay. My take-home message.
Something that you hold dearly, like you felt that it was useful for you.
I think it's really striking a balance in your life. So, and it's applicable for me now, even at work. So while I work, once I know I've hit a certain limit, right, I can't go on anymore. Stop. I need to take a break. So really give yourself that break. And it helps with like knowing what will help in relaxing your mind. It's something very important. So for me, it can be as simple as really stepping away from my laptop, stepping away from your books even, right, for students like yourself, and seeing greenery. Or if I can go out, I would, go to take a walk in the park. That's something really works for me. And I would urge for all of you to find out that one thing or a few things that will work for you in relaxing your mind, because that's very, very important. You need to be able to restart. You need to be able to take a rest in order for you to be able to go further. Yeah, that would be mine.
All right. Okay. Vignesh?
For me, it's more of, I think if you ask me what I hold dearly, which I think is useful, like personally to me, and I think that the students should take into consideration is just ask, just ask. The impact is very minimal, to be honest. If you have a question, if you have a doubt, don't worry, just ask. How you want to ask it, which platform, who, in front of who, that's entirely up to you. It depends on how comfortable you are. But don't keep it within yourself. In times like this, okay, it is a lot more crucial for you to reach out, whether is it about the subject that you're learning that you don't understand, or whether is it just about your stress levels. If you feel like you're going through a lot of stress, seek out for help. Just ask for it. It does go a long way. It really does go. It opens up doors for future opportunities, whether be it related to stress management or management with regards to what you're learning in the course or the subjects. Yeah, so that would be something I would say, final driving point here.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
I think life in general is problem solving. So I guess every day is a challenge. So I think with the current pandemic, you definitely will have to step up the challenge. So yeah, reaching out is one of it, and taking breaks is also one of them. I think that everyone has to take their own strides, their own effort, managing themselves. Everyone works differently. So try not to compare too much with everyone else. Try to just look at yourself
Yes.
first and see how much can you manage with your own self. If let's say you can't take it, it's okay. Don't be too let down by it. There is always time for you to go through it. You can think it through and then keep trying. Don't just give up and like, oh, okay, I just let it go. No, I think the more you keep trying, I think the success is even more reachable to you, rather than you just sit back and just wait for help to come to you. You have to really go out there and step out from your comfort zone and reach out. I think for you, that's the best way for students these days to keep studying, and now with this current pandemic.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. That's it.
Well, as for me, I think that don't feel guilty if your plans fail, and don't feel guilty if you feel that you haven't reached your goal, because even the best plans fails. And it's completely fine, because life is about like trial and error. And even when you're an adult, you are not always going to get things right, and it is okay, because we are not meant to be perfect, and no one is perfect. And you just have to take it in your own pace. Like, if you feel stressed about feeling stressed, and if you feel guilty about feeling stressed, and then you feel stressed about feeling guilty, and the first thing you need to do
Vicious
is to
cycle.
acknowledge the cycle. Correct, just like what Vic said, like you need to admit the cycle and break it, and just go and take the break you need, as mentioned by Jade. And it is totally fine to be not okay for one day, because it is just one day out of so many days that you're going to have.
All right, I think we come to the end of the show today, right? Right. So thank you very much again to Jade, Vignesh, Francine, and Dave for your time here today. We have a very good ideas, suggestions, and points that you guys have actually brought up to our students today. I hope that those listening at home, right, can actually benefit from today's session. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, right? So if you like what you hear and see today, right, please give us a thumbs up. Right, subscribe as well.
Yeah, subscribe.
Comment as well. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Bye bye. See you in the next one.
Bye.
See you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.